Guten Tag. So today I thought I'd lecture in German, but then I realized I don't speak German, so I guess English will have to do. So here we are. We have our drone. Hey, where'd those legs go? They were right there. There we go. Okay. So we have our drone, and obviously we could add more to this, antennas, whatever. But I want to show the texturing part of this because it's going to be kind of important, obviously, to make this look nice. Now we're going to be taking this into a separate application in order to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that off. What I'm going to do is create some basic textures in here, and then we'll take it into another app and then actually do our real textures. So the biggest thing is we need to create the UVs for anywhere we want to have actual textures, things laid out. So what we need to do is create basically a decal sheet. So if you remember from when I was a kid, they used to have these things that you would do instead of playing on the computer, which is like building model cars. And when you built a model car, you would get a decal sheet, which would have all the pictures of things you wanted to add to your model car. And so you would create a decal sheet. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Photoshop. I'm going to make a new document. I'm going to make it 4096 by 4096. And the process for this is very similar to what we did in the previous assignment, where we were adding images to specific areas. Okay. So here's our image. And I'm just going to go in with my text tool and just create some text. So I'm going to put Sarcona because that's my name. So I want you to put your last name somewhere on your drone. And then obviously find a cool font. Oh, that one's kind of neat. If you want to impress Chris or any of the other designers, use Comic Sans. That's like their favorite font. Oops. I'm just going to shrink this down. And they really appreciate us doing this all in Photoshop. There we go. So that's kind of cool. I'll angle it like this a little bit. And then I can put in just, some lines. Like that. Make a new layer. Fill it. I need to nudge it down a little bit. There we go. I'll do the same thing on this side. So there's like the name of my drone right here. I do have, if I switch back to Cinema, I do have some like light panels here that maybe I want to add some lights to this. So I could also go online. Look up light panels. If you find a color light panel, obviously it makes it easier. Obviously, we want to make sure our usage rights allow us to reuse it with modifications. And maybe we'll find something in here that's pretty decent. Obviously, it's not going to be crazy up close, so we have the ability to kind of fudge some things around. Even like this thing here, I could take this and then make that look like a light. I like this little grow light. That's kind of neat. So I'm just going to copy the image. I'll paste it in here. It's super tiny. Stretch it up a little bit. I don't want to go too big, otherwise it's going to really look pixelated. And then I'm just going to delete all the stuff that I don't need. So, oops, wrong button. There we go. And then I can hit Control T, and I can just kind of distort this into more of a square shape. And again, like I said, because this is going to be smaller, I can do this. If this was a full-blown product that's going to show up in a magazine or something, I would not want to do this. I'm just going to delete some of these areas. Now, if you have me for Photoshop, you know that we typically don't like to delete stuff. But this image is so kind of minuscule, I don't even care about deleting stuff. There we go. So there's my light panel. And I think what I'm going to do is there's a little cable or something here. So I'm just going to use my clone stamp. I'll just get rid of that. Here we go. Hey, the clone stamp, remember that tool? There we go. Okay, so that should be good. And then, because I have this now, then I can tint the color. So I can go to, we'll do this in a non-destructive way. I'll go to Hue and Saturation. I'll Alt-click between these, and then I can just shift whatever colors I want. So I like having this maybe like a vibrant red. Maybe I'll hit Colorize too and just see what I get. That's kind of cool. There we go. Okay. So now I have this red, and what I can do is take these two and duplicate them. So I hold down Alt and duplicate, and I get a copy of it, not eat. Slipping back into my German. There we go. Then we'll have green. Cool. We have red and green, Christmas colors, or Freddy Krueger colors, depending on your preference of holiday. So I'm going to want to give these a little bit of space between each of these areas. If I put them too close together, then there's a chance that they could actually like bleed into one another when I'm starting to place these into my scene. And then I'm going to need a color for the rest of my drone. So I'm going to come down to my, and obviously I need to color this. I don't really like that color. So I'm going to give a basic color to my drone. It's just going to be like a creamy color. I don't want to be like a black drone, because then the text is going to be harder to read. It's going to be harder to read on the background and stuff. So let's go to that. Okay, a little bit too pinky. Let's just push a little bit more in the yellow. There we go. So that looks a little bit better. It looks a little bit pink before. And then let's go up to my name. So there's my name, and then here are my two lines. So I'm just going to, let's say double click my name here. And then I can just do a color overlay and just pick whatever color I want. And the nice thing about this is that I could then copy this to the other one, and it'll keep the same color. So obviously I want something that has a little bit more darkness to it, otherwise I won't be able to see it very good. So that's kind of good there. Oops, I didn't want to jump out of that yet. I'm also going to do a stroke. And I'm going to do this inside. That's good. Maybe I'll do this in white. Alright, now it looks pretty horrible, but what I'm going to do is duplicate this layer. And I'm going to have one with the stroke on a different color. And on one of these I can take the fill off, just so you can see what that does. What that should have done is, oh, because I have this as a color overlay. There we go. So I take the fill down. There we go. So now this is like transparent, right? Like that. And then on this one, you can see what we get is we get this nice effect on the inside. Okay. So then all I have to do is take these lines here, I'm going to control click them and just fill them with black. And then maybe just adjust their sizing and position. So I'm just going to control T to shrink this down and then scoot them over. There we go. And I'll do the same thing on this side. That way it kind of looks like it flows with that same shape. There we go. All right, so it's kind of a neat, you know, logo apart from just a regular logo. And the neat thing too is if I want to change my font, I can grab both of these, I believe, and then just switch my font, and I'll change it on both of them. And then all my effect will come with it. I just may have to adjust my lines. I'm going to leave it at the one that was at, I think it was Bauhaus. Ooh, Berlin. There we go. I'm going to leave it at that for now. I can always, like I said, come back and adjust it. Alright, so there's our decal sheet. Oops. Maybe we'll add just a couple little shapes on here for extra fun. So let's go to our ellipse tool. make a little shape, do a little dance, get down tonight. Alright, so I shrunk it down a little bit there. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to Control T to shrink it down even further. And then I'm going to give this a different color. Oops. That's kind of neat. And then I will duplicate it again. Control T, shrink it down. Not so much. I'm going to fix that zoom. There we go. And then I'll color this one. Come on. There we go. That's a good color. All right, so just give me, some flavor. And if I need more than one of these, I can just use the same area. I don't need to like duplicate this. These are different colors, so I need to duplicate that. If I wanted these to be different colors, different shapes, obviously I need to duplicate them. So as much stuff as we want to throw on here, you can throw on here. I'm just going to then go and save it into my desktop P drive. 2510, work, drone, make a new folder called textures, and call this Decal Sheet. Save 2 copies. One's a PSD, so we can come back and edit it. And then the other copy is going to be a Targa. Everyone loves Targas. Cool. All right, so now we come back to here. And on this, I'm just going to make a new material, drop it onto my drone. There he is. And on here, I'm going to go to my texture, find the correct one. See how it went into Sarcona environment? That's where I was loading stuff before. So I need to go to 2510, work, drone again, text, decal sheet, open. It'll say, do you want to copy it to the project location? I'm going to hit no. And what that means is that I need to go into my preferences. I need to go to my files. There he is. And I need to add that into my list. So desktop, P drive, 2510, drone, textures. Actually, I can just go to drone. It'll know where my stuff is there. There we go. So now when I click here and I click this and I reload it, see how it just gives me the name of this without giving me all the other junk there. So that way it'll be easier for it to find it should I reboot my computer or go to a different station. All right, so just like before, we have this huge mess on here. Now if I switch this to lines, you can see this huge area where it's just like, holy cow, right? It's like a lot of stuff going on. So this is on, oops. Yes, it's on this cylinder here, okay? So I've made this editable so that I can get back to this. I have my symmetry on here, so if I needed to, let's say, turn off all the stuff, I get back to one section. Now for this texturing to work, if you look at this setup here, you'll see that the texturing is basically mirrored, because whatever happens to one corner is going to happen to all the other 4 corners, right? Because it's all symmetry. So what I need to do is I need to take it out of the subdivision. There we go. So now we don't have all these divisions. All right, that's going to be much easier to lay out the texture when it's less divisions on it. And then I'm going to take this and hit C to make that editable. So now I basically get one shape that I could pull out of here and delete those pieces. All right, so now I just have one shape. And now with this one shape, I can do more stuff with it. And when I'm ready, then I can drop it into here and then I'll get my textures back on it. I'm not ready for that. All right, so our first step is to make sure on this that it's set to UVW, which it is. And then I need to go to my BP UV edit. And I'm going to click on my faces. You'll see the big mess that's over here. I need to select all my stuff. So I grab that. I make sure only visible is off. I make sure tolerant is on. And I marquee all the pieces of this, okay? Then what I'm going to do is just go to my scale tool and just shrink it all down. It's like super duper tiny. Okay, so it's super tiny. Then I'm going to stick it into the corner where I know there's no texture. In my Photoshop document, there's no texture down here, so that's where I'm sticking that image basically is down there. And you can see where the texture, ooh, come on, when it does that. View, fit to screen, there we go. You can see where the texture is if I zoom out. There we go. This is that box. So that box represents this box. Cool. So now what I can do is go through and grab where I want my labels to be. So I'm going to go here, and let's say I want my name to be like right there. Okay, so I'm going to go to Faces, click off. There we go. It's just taking a second to update. So I can click on that face right there. And then if I go to my projection here and I just say frontal or flat or cubic, you know, I try to find the best one for this. Probably box is going to be the best one. And then once I have that, then it's simply a matter of switching to my move tool and just moving that in alignment. And then switch to my scale tool and scaling that up. Okay, so I'm basically just fitting that into there. Oops. My mouse is kind of wigging out. There we go. All right, so there's my name on this side. All right, now watch what happens. I'm going to switch this back to standard mode. If I drop this into my subdiv, you can see my name is still there. It's like perfect. Awesome. Okay, it does move a little bit because of the shape, but I haven't lost the major shape of this, so I'm happy with that. So cool. So now let me drop it on this side too. So I'm going to go over to my BPUV edit. I'm going to find that face. I believe it was that one. I'm going to go to box. There it is. I'm going to go to my move tool, move it up here. Go to my scale, scale it up. And it doesn't matter that it doesn't match perfectly because nobody's going to see both sides at the same time. Okay, obviously you want to make sure it's close. Oh my gosh. My mouse is acting very weird. There we go. That's cool. All right, so now I got my name on this thing. Now let's go through and see what else we should add. So we have our lights. Here's my lights right here. So I'm going to go and grab those. Click, click. And you can do them multiple ones at the same time. Sometimes you'll get just weird results if you do that. Sometimes it's easier to just do one at a time. So I'm going to try to do all four just to see. So I hit box. It has, what are you doing? It has laid them out. And let's try a different one. Let's try shrink. Yeah, that doesn't look too good. Cubic, cylinder. No. You can also try like object system, you know, or average normals. To be something different. I'm just going to grab one at a time. Focus on one and get that right. There we go. See, you did one, and he's like good. I can actually see him. He looks like out here. He looks like. So now we just move this, right? So we kind of get this lined up. We may need to rotate. That's a possibility too. We can rotate wherever our mouse is at. That's where it's going to rotate from. And then same thing with scaling. As we scale it, it's going to scale in. Now it's opposite, right? So we have to scale it down to make it bigger in the other view. Okay. We could also go down to our transform, and we could scale it this way. So I can say in the Y direction, I need you to scale it down like 0.5. I said 0.5. There we go. And then I could nudge that over again. So I'm in the move tool still. I nudge it over. And then the other thing we could do too, like if we needed this to look a little bit smoother, because you can see it's kind of like going like that, the subdivision will smooth that out some. But if we needed it to be absolutely perfect, that's where we would lay this out and then bring that into Photoshop and then touch it up there. Let's go 1.1. Oops, wrong way, 0.9. There we go. Okay, so that's good. So now let me grab the next one. And then I will go to, and I could even just take this over here because I know where it's at. And then scale it up so that it's bigger. Nope, because it is separated. So I can go projection. There we go. Hit it on cubic. Drop it in here. A little bit of rotation in the center. There we go. A little bit of scale. There we go. And then just go back to that transform. Set that back to 1. And I'm just shrinking that down to fit. There we go. Cool. So now we'll go to this side. Projection. Cubic. We're bringing that in the green. Same thing. You get the process, right? You get the idea of what we're doing here. Go. And then the last one, this one, and that one. Projection, cubic. Now if we need to flip them, we could flip them too, right? So not just rotating, but actually flipping it, we could do that. Just by going in here and making one of these negative. There we go. Cool. And then where's our dots? Our dots are down there. So let's say I want to put a dot somewhere. Maybe these 4 faces. I'll just do these 4 at the same time. They're facing the same direction, so it should be easier. Let's go to flat. Let's go to box. Nope, let's go to cubic. There we go. Flat did work, I just had to make sure it was on object system. There we go. So now I, again, shrink it down. So I shrink it. Go to move tool, and I move it to where that circle is. There he is. Come on, mouse. And then we scale it down a smidgy more, or scale it up a bit more. And you'll see that he's coming in actually kind of elongated. So that's where I would go back to my transform and set my X. I need my X to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so whatever it looks like in here, like it's bigger left and right than up and down. So it should look like that in here. So if I just keep scaling this, you'll see eventually it'll look longer here and taller, and that gives me my little drops. Cool. All right, so now we go back to general, or standard. All right, so turn that off. So cool. Now if we drop this into our subdivision, everything just disappears. Nope, it's just because our wireframe's still on. There we go. So we have our lights. We may need to adjust those, obviously, because they're kind of squishied. Our name is still on there. Yep, we definitely need to adjust the lights. So let's go back to this, back to our UV edit, back to this. And because these are right here, you can actually just select them right there. So I can just go, and then zoom in on this area. That's the green one, so I gotta zoom in on the other area. And the reason it does this is because the faces are like squishing in. And you can see that even if we adjusted this, like I'm gonna go crazy here, it's not going to adjust it just because of how these faces are laid out. So I'm gonna actually hit undo, switch back to standard mode. And this is something I'm gonna need to adjust on my model, okay? So essentially what I need is just more divisions here. So if I go to my knife tool, switch to edge mode, make sure I'm on loop, And I'm going to go I'm trying to do it right here. There it is. So I'm dropping another edge loop around there so that when this is in the subdivision, it shouldn't shrink down so much, but it still is doing that. Okay. Now if this still does it even after, I may need to go after this is done and add some more lines another way. Oops. And I'm kind of testing it out in this one to see which one's going to work. Come on. So finicky. Yeah, see, that still is coming out looking like a mess. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to our UV edit. And what I'm going to do is add more in here. Okay, and this is just part of the stupid stuff that we have to do. Faces are on, yes, so I'm clicking those. Hit O to kind of center myself and then zoom back in. There we go. So what I can do is I'm going to hit the select and grow the selection. Not letting me select that way. Alright, we'll just do it this way. So I'm just going to paint my selection in here, and basically I'm just going out a little bit further. No, I don't think I'm going to like that either. I'm kind of picky about my selection, so what I want to do is just grab exactly what I need. It's just my mouse is acting weird, so it's kind of hard to get right in there and select it. So now I got more of it. I should probably grab another row, but we'll just try this. So switch this back to cubic, flat. There we go. If I switch that to flat, then I get the shape, and then shrink it down, move it into position. And this is just, again, to kind of test it out before we go any further with this. I just put it right there, then switch back to my standard mode, then turn this back on. See, looks much better. I missed a I missed a corner, so I'll have to go back and grab that corner, and then it'll lay out much better than it did before. Okay, so I'll have to do that for each piece of that. Okay, now if you have any other textures you want to add to anywhere else, definitely you want to add the textures. I'm not talking about materials at this point. I'm just talking about textures. So if, let's say, you wanted on these little blades, you wanted, let's say, a circle, right, like a line that goes around this, then you could obviously add that too, right? That'll just be another decal, another projection. All right, that's cool. I could even grab, you know, let's just say I wanted my name even bigger on this. I can go back to my UV edit, go back to my faces, make sure I'm on the cylinder, turn that off. Right, so I can grab like this and project it on there too. There we go, and then we turn it back on. And there's our name, okay? So you get the idea. I'm just going to do that. I don't want it there, but I wanted to show you that you obviously could do something like that. All right, so that's it for the texturing part of this. Now the other part that we need to kind of focus on is once we get all of our texturing stuff done, we want to basically bake in what our image looks like or what our object looks like. So with all of this like nice and smooth and our texture laid out, I'm going to save this first. and I'm going to save this as. Okay. That way I can always go back to it if I mess up. So I'm going to hit C, and that way this is locked in. So I can't go down in divisions on this. Okay, so I can't do anything with that. If I need to tweak anything, I need to go back to my previous version and do that. Now at this point, I could also go through and lay out more textures if I needed more refinement. Obviously, I still have to fix this, which I'll do on my other file, then I'll come back to it. But I need to go through everything in here, and I need to hit C once I'm satisfied with everything that's in there. And then I need to start pulling stuff out of here. So here's all my cloners and all my other stuff. Here's my symmetry. I need to hit C on that. So now that's locked in. Okay, my random is no longer needed, so I can delete that. And so what I need to do is pull everything out. Okay, so I'm just grabbing all of my stuff. Control key, click that, and then it opens it. There we go. And so then I could wait until it's done thinking. There we go. I can see what this is. This is going to be one of those. Come on, mouse, don't do this to me. These are the little toruses that are inside here for that. So I could group those together and just call this wiring. Right, and do the same thing here. Grab these, Alt G, wiring. All right, and I'm just going to drag these basically together. That way I can start to kind of organize what I'm doing. So here's some more wiring. All these like toruses, I know it's wiring because those are my toruses. So I'm just wiring and so on. Okay, so you're going to go through and name all your stuff. Here's my propeller. Where's he at? Right there. All right. And then here's this. Prop guard. Prop top. That's way over there. So this is engine guard. Okay. All right, so one thing I want to point out that I forgot was even going to happen is that after we've cloned these objects, we symmetried them, we've made them editable. When I click on one of them, it's still clicking on all fours. So what I have to do is separate all the objects from each other. So I have to go to faces, I have to go to my selection and marquee the selection. I can right click and then do a split. So you see the option is UP, which is just a really funny hotkey. Grab all four, UP, and then somewhere up here, here we go. I have one that is still all four of them, which is this one. Switch back to object mode. I can delete that. And then this one is all four individual ones. Okay, so that's important because obviously we want to be able to animate certain things separately or texture them separately. So we need to have that done. Okay, so I'm going to go through and clean this up, and when you come back in the next video, this thing will be all organized, and then we have this base texture on top of here. All right, so that we'll see you in that video. Guten Tag.